Welcome. This is the Rice Trader. I'm Jeremy Zwinger, and we're just summarizing the June 11, 2018 report. Just like to start off by giving a tired welcome back. I arrived from Asia at midnight after very long travels, as many of the trade know. So hopefully I'll be sharp today, but it'll be with a long travel and a little bit of jet lag that I give this report. But of course, I want to thank the many people who took time out to meet with me while I was in Thailand and in Singapore and the Philippines and other places. And so it was a pleasure meeting you, and I want to thank you guys all for the time. I truly enjoyed seeing my friends and clients. So we have 10 points to go through today. I'm going to be a little more organized to try to give some of the key points in the Rice Trader, because I know many people are starting to watch the video and just to use it as a direction of where to look for more. So I think we have to start with the trade. Point one. Point one was thank you for the wonderful time. Point two is trade. We have to remember trade has been very high this year. In fact, it's the highest level of trade in history. We're up 6% on last year. It has been an amazing year of trade. And if it had just been that point, prices would be dramatically up. You have every origin outside the US up. Thailand's up by 3% at a record. India's up at a record at 5.5, Viet's at a record at 3.1, and actually Pakistan's up by 20%, but still just more average trade. The US is the real area of question, and probably the area of question in the future time. It's down by 12%, and that's with the bigger crop coming. So again, very high year of demand. There's talk of less Chinese demand in the midst of this. But it's been an amazing year for demand. We have seen Chinese exports, especially of old crop, and this may be kind of what's playing into this as well. But these are just points outside of the aggregate. Demand has been immense. So let's pull back from that. We said the last 2 weeks, why are prices not run? Point three, we are having huge supplies. And what I would say is even this demand, this record demand, is not enough with the huge crops we're having. And I actually think next year is going to be a bigger crop. And to put it in perspective, you have the largest year of ending stocks for wheat in history before we get to rice, and that goes into 2018-19 as well. Corn is extremely high with 200 million metric tons of stocks. And to get into rice, the rice is at about 144 million metric tons of carried out at the end of the year and increasing in 2018-19. This is the highest stock since 2000-2001, so that's 18 years. And let's remember, in those years, prices of rice were like $200 a ton. So supplies are massive and they're not going down. And I think this gets into to the next point, which is 4, which is prices. Prices on the week will be one thing, but overall, again, that huge amount of supply, and this is before the bigger crops are coming off here in Oxep, it's not allowing prices to run. And it's the overall complex, but especially rice. So just talking about this week in the midst of that supply and demand, basically we've seen everybody off this week outside of Pakistan, which is basically flat, no reported change. The US has led the drop by being down a solid $10 a ton. Thailand's off 5 to 10, Viet's off $5, India's off 2 to 5 on the week. So again, a negative week, and this is in the midst of heavy demand. As we had been saying repeatedly, the U.S. is leading this. The futures market has dropped by about $2 a hundredweight since we've been doing this video. So you've been listening us to on futures. You've made a good financial play. We are very negative, the U.S. It's going to be a very big crop coming off, and there's not a lot of positives overall. There's too high of grain supplies, and the U.S. having another 20% when trade this year has already been down 12%. Spells major issues. And this is before you see the Asians probably push into Latin America even heavier next year. So that moves to point 5, politics. Politics, especially, we're going to start by talking about the U.S. It's been a very interesting week. There's the continued pullback between the U.S. and various countries. We've seen China talk about putting retaliatory tariffs, Europe talking about putting retaliatory tariffs, issues in Mexico with NAFTA not being done, and of course China. While on one end we hear China is talking about opening up trade, there's been some breakthroughs over the weekend, and it sounds like the Chinese are going to be in the U.S. with some trade teams looking at mills. So it's just an interesting time for trade. Very chaotic, And maybe that's the reason trade deals can get done. You know, it's not going to be clear until the trade deals are signed, but certainly politics and trade are very volatile. But that moves us into point 6, which is Malaysia. You know, this is a very big point. We've all heard about it. The new Malaysian president, he's already announced that he's going to end Bernas's monopoly import regime. This could have dramatic effects. But we also, just like our next point, we would say there should be caution in this. Yes, this could be dramatic change, but this is not ending Bernas. Bernas will still be there from recent reports, and it's not clear what an end of the monopoly imports mean. Additionally, we have to remember all of this is based upon elections and politics and growers making money when cheaper imports are coming in. So even with this said, you have to watch the process outside of the words being said. You know, along with that, point 7, the same thing as Malaysia. There's the same talk about in the Philippines, but it's really still not clear. The imports have been cheaper than NFA purchases. Are they going to allow it at a 35% tariff? Again, there's a lot of politics in here with elections as well. You know, and how do you allow cheap imports if your growers don't make money and you still want to be elected? It's not an easy situation, to say the least. All right, this moves us into the next piece, point 9. So as we look in the rice trader, and of course there's some specific graphs I like to look at. I like to look at price, I like to look at weekly movements. But we have 2 special reports this week, and this is point 8 and 9. We'll start with India. We've already mentioned that India's had a record year. India's had an amazing year. It is 5.583 million metric tons through June 5th. It is on pace to easily bust the highest amount of trade in history. It's just having a very, very solid year. What would be the warning here? We have to remember elections are coming up. We expect trade to probably slow as the year goes on. That's not firm, but it looks like it'll slow as the year goes on. And who knows what happens? It is a very volatile time, but with this high of supply globally, there's not a lot of focus on strategic stocks. India probably continues to be a heavy exporter. They're definitely having surplus supplies, but definitely that election needs to be watched. But a huge year for India, as we highlight in the India section this month. That moves us into the Basmati, which is point 9. I think what we're seeing in the specialties is that there's going to be heavy planting. I definitely believe there's going to be huge planting of fragrant rice, which will draw these heavy prices down, especially towards September. Do definitely look for September, October, fragrant prices to drop off dramatically. For Basmati, again, in the end of the report here, section 10, we're looking at a trade of about 4.52 million metric tons in 2017. We do see a move to 4.39 million metric tons in the coming period. It looks like the potential could be as high as 5.45. So definitely an interesting year. If we look at the Basmati production, you know, you're definitely going to see a return on these lower prices for the regulars and the higher prices for the more specialty products. You're going to see heavy production, and so one has to watch for this in the next period. It's just even a sideline from that. You know, one interesting fact is that parboiled prices are actually at parity or discount even in Thailand today. So while we say this, one definitely has to watch this spread between the norms and the specialties. With that, I think I've gone on a little longer than I like. Point 10, as it's been before on this week, I just want to welcome you all to the 10th anniversary for the Rice Trader. Please start registering. Please continue to sponsor. It should be our biggest event in history. Of course, again, it's October 10th to 12th in Vietnam, and we just look forward to that. With that, I'm going to sign off and get a little bit of sleep. I wish you guys a nice weekend, and hopefully you enjoy the Rice Trader Report this week.